Jessica Harper wiped down the counter at Benny's diner, her movements mechanical as she completed the task for what felt like the thousandth time that morning. The small diner, tucked away in the heart of downtown Chicago, was far from glamorous, but it had been her second home for the past 5 years. At 28, Jessica had memorized every crack in the worn vinyl seats, every squeaky hinge on the swinging kitchen door, and the exact time Mr. Green would shuffle in for his daily order of coffee and eggs. "Same old Wednesday," she muttered to herself, adjusting her crooked name tag and stealing a glance at the clock. It was 9:45 a.m., almost time for the next wave of regulars. The bell above the door jingled, and Jessica glanced up with a practiced smile, expecting the familiar face of a neighborhood patron. Instead, her breath caught in her throat. A tall man in a black t-shirt and jeans stepped through the door, his face unmistakable. It was Ethan Blake. The Ethan Blake, business magnate, tech visionary, and one of the most recognizable faces in the country. His name dominated news headlines and social media posts. But here he was, standing in the modest confines of Benny's diner. Jessica's trained eye noticed the subtle slump in his shoulders and the tired look in his sharp eyes. He didn't exude the commanding presence often seen in his media appearances. Instead, he looked defeated. He scanned the room and, noticing the nearly empty diner, slipped into a corner booth. A buzz of whispers spread through the room like wildfire. A couple of patrons discreetly pulled out their phones, snapping pictures of the unexpected celebrity. Jessica could feel the tension building, the air charged with curiosity and opportunism. "I got this one," she told Carla, her coworker, who stood frozen, clutching a pot of coffee like it was her lifeline. Jessica smoothed her apron and approached the booth with calm determination. Ethan was hunched over, rubbing his temples. As she reached his table, he glanced up, his expression wary. "Welcome to Benny's," Jessica said warmly, her tone deliberately casual. "Would you like a moment with the menu?" Ethan blinked, surprised by her lack of fuss. Relief softened his features, and he nodded. "Just coffee, please. Black. And maybe somewhere quiet to work for an hour." "Coming right up," Jessica replied, flashing a kind smile. "And don't worry, I'll make sure no one bothers you." Jessica returned with the coffee moments later, setting it down with practiced ease. True to her word, she spent the next hour deflecting curious customers. A group of college students attempted to approach Ethan for selfies, but Jessica intercepted them with a polite yet firm, "He's here for some peace and quiet. Let's respect that." Her efforts didn't go unnoticed by Ethan, who occasionally glanced up from his laptop to observe her in action. Jessica even found herself standing up to her manager, Carl, who was practically salivating at the prospect of leveraging Ethan's presence for social media clout. "We're posting this," Carl hissed, holding up his phone. "Do you know how much traffic this could bring us?" "He's just trying to have a peaceful morning," Jessica countered, her voice steady. "We should respect that." "You don't make those decisions," Carl snapped. "This could be huge for us." Jessica crossed her arms. "And it could ruin our reputation if people think we harass our customers." Their argument caught Ethan's attention. He closed his laptop, his brow furrowing as he watched Carl and Jessica from across the room. Carl, seething, pulled Jessica aside. His voice dropped to a harsh whisper. "You're fired. Get your things and leave now." Jessica's stomach dropped. 5 years of loyal service, never missing a shift, and this was how it ended. She felt the sting of tears, but held her ground. "Fine. Let me finish my shift first." "No," Carl snapped. "Out. Now." As Jessica untied her apron, a chair scraped against the floor behind her. Ethan stood, his commanding presence suddenly filling the room. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Is there a problem here?" Carl spun around, his expression instantly morphing into one of false charm. "Not at all, Mr. Blake. Just a small staffing issue." Ethan's gaze didn't waver. "I saw what happened. This young woman was protecting my privacy and doing her job with integrity. And you're firing her for it?" The diner fell silent. Every customer turned to watch the unfolding drama. "Sir, Carl stammered, his usual bravado crumbling. "What's your name?" Ethan asked, turning to Jessica. "Jessica Harper," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan pulled out his phone and began typing. Jessica, would you be interested in a job? I'm looking for someone with exactly your kind of integrity to join my executive assistant team. Jessica's heart raced. Are you serious? Completely, Ethan said, showing her his phone screen. I've already emailed my HR department. Jessica stared at the screen, her mind struggling to process the moment. Starting salary is $95,000, Ethan added, turning back to Carl. As for this establishment, I'll be sure to let my followers know about how you treat your employees. Carl's face drained of color, and he stumbled over an incoherent response. Jessica, meanwhile, felt her world shift on its axis. 5 years of hard work, countless hours of thankless effort, and it had all led to this singular moment. By the time she left the diner that day, she wasn't just Jessica Harper, a waitress at Benny's. She was Jessica Harper, the newest member of Ethan Blake's team. A woman whose unwavering integrity had turned an ordinary Wednesday into the start of an extraordinary journey. Jessica sat in her modest apartment later that evening, her mind replaying the whirlwind events of the day. The email from Blake Enterprises sat open on her laptop screen, its bold header still feeling surreal. Formal job offer. Executive assistant to Ethan Blake. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing since she left the diner. Friends, family, and even casual acquaintances had reached out, their messages flooding her inbox. The story had gone viral after Ethan Blake tweeted about it. Just witnessed an incredible display of integrity at a small Chicago diner. One worker chose protecting a customer's privacy over keeping her job. Proud to say she's joining the Blake Enterprises family tomorrow. Good people deserve good things. The tweet had been shared thousands of times, with replies pouring in from all corners of the internet. Jessica's story was being hailed as a reminder of the value of kindness and integrity, especially in an often harsh and competitive world. Her mother's text was the one that made her cry the most. Baby girl, I always knew you were destined for great things. Your daddy would be so proud. Jessica's chest tightened at the memory of her father, who had passed away when she was just 12. He used to tell her that character wasn't about grand gestures but the small, everyday choices made when no one was watching. Today, someone had been watching, and it had changed everything. As she clicked accept on the digital job offer, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from an unknown number. Car will pick you up at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Looking forward to working with you. E.B. Jessica stared at the message, her heart racing. This wasn't just a new job, it was a new life. The next morning, a sleek black car pulled up in front of her apartment building at exactly 8 a.m. Jessica stepped out, dressed in the only blazer she owned, clutching a simple leather bag. The driver greeted her with a polite nod before opening the door for her. As the car wove through the bustling streets of Chicago, Jessica couldn't help but feel a mix of nerves and excitement. By the time they arrived at Blake Enterprises, she was in awe. The skyscraper was a testament to Ethan Blake's empire. Sleek, modern, and commanding. Inside, the lobby buzzed with activity. Professionals in tailored suits hurried about, and Jessica felt distinctly out of place. But when she was escorted to the executive floor, her nerves were quickly replaced by wonder. Her new office was spacious and elegant, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of the city skyline. On her desk was a small card. Thank you for reminding me that there are still people who do the right thing simply because it's right. Welcome to the team. Ethan. Jessica ran her fingers over the card, her throat tightening with emotion. 5 years of living paycheck to paycheck, of wiping down sticky tables and dreaming of something better, had led to this. Ethan appeared in the doorway moments later, a warm smile replacing the tired expression she had seen at the diner. Jessica, welcome, he said, extending a hand. Thank you, Mr. Blake, she replied, shaking his hand firmly. Call me Ethan, he said with a chuckle. I think we're going to make a great team. They spent the morning going over her new responsibilities. The position was challenging but exciting, a far cry from her routine at the diner. Ethan's faith in her abilities was evident, and his guidance was both encouraging and empowering. By lunchtime, Jessica already felt like part of the team. She was introduced to other executives, attended her first meeting, and even received a company laptop and phone. It was a whirlwind, but she embraced every moment, determined to prove she belonged in this new world. That evening, as she settled into her old apartment for what might be one of her last nights there, Jessica reflected on how drastically her life had changed in just 24 hours. She thought about the people still working in diners, stores, and countless other jobs, waiting for their own big break. Inspired, she opened her new verified Twitter account and composed her first tweet. To every service worker still waiting for their moment, keep your integrity, keep your compassion, keep your faith. Sometimes life's biggest blessings come disguised as ordinary moments. Your time will come. Service with integrity. The tweet quickly went viral, touching hearts across the globe. People shared their own stories of perseverance and hope, turning Jessica's journey into a symbol of encouragement for anyone who felt overlooked or undervalued. Jessica's phone buzzed again. It was another text from Ethan. First executive meeting tomorrow. Bring that same energy that impressed me at the diner. The world needs more people like you. She smiled, setting her alarm for the next morning. Her life had taken an unexpected turn, but she knew she was ready for it. Through all the changes, one thing remained constant: her belief in doing the right thing, no matter the cost. It was that belief that had brought her here, and it would guide her through everything that came next. Jessica's first week at Blake Enterprises felt like a dream. Every day brought new challenges, opportunities, and a sense of belonging she'd never experienced before. Her workspace on the executive floor was a far cry from the cramped break room at Benny's Diner. Sunlight poured through the massive windows, and the hum of productivity filled the air. Her responsibilities as Ethan Blake's executive assistant were demanding but exhilarating. She managed his schedule, coordinated high-stakes meetings, and handled correspondence with an efficiency that impressed the entire team. Ethan, true to his word, treated her with respect and trust, often seeking her input on decisions that extended beyond her official role. On her third day, Ethan handed her a folder containing an ambitious project, a mentorship initiative for underprivileged youth. "I've been wanting to launch this for years," he explained. "After seeing your story go viral, I realized you'd be the perfect person to lead it. You understand what it means to work hard and stay true to your values." Jessica's hands trembled slightly as she accepted the folder. "I won't let you down," she promised, feeling the weight of the responsibility but also the immense pride that came with it. Outside of work, life had also changed drastically. Jessica had moved out of her tiny apartment and into a cozy loft in a safer, more vibrant neighborhood. Her mother had visited over the weekend, marveling at Jessica's new home and proudly recounting the story of her daughter's rise to everyone they met. But not all changes brought joy. On her way home one evening, Jessica passed by Benny's Diner. The parking lot was nearly empty, and the once bustling diner had lost its charm. Through the window, she saw Carl cleaning tables himself, his face etched with frustration. Jessica felt no satisfaction in seeing her former manager struggle. Instead, she hoped he had learned a lesson about valuing employees and treating people with dignity. For her, the incident at the diner was no longer about bitterness or loss. It had become a pivotal moment that reshaped her life. The mentorship initiative became Jessica's passion project. She worked tirelessly to design a program that provided young people with real-world opportunities, pairing them with mentors across Blake Enterprises' various departments. One day, Ethan surprised her with a proposal. "Let's take this initiative nationwide," he said during one of their strategy meetings. "I want your story and this program to inspire others on a larger scale." Jessica felt a rush of excitement and gratitude. Together, they launched a campaign called Integrity in Action, combining social media outreach, local workshops, and corporate partnerships. The initiative quickly gained traction, with media outlets covering the story and communities rallying behind the message. Jessica's name became synonymous with perseverance and ethical leadership. Invitations to speak at events and conferences began pouring in, and though public speaking wasn't her forte, Jessica accepted each opportunity with humility and grace. Months later, as she prepared for a major keynote address, Jessica reflected on how far she had come. The event was a prestigious conference in New York City, and she was slated to share the stage with some of the most influential leaders in the world. Standing backstage, she clutched her notes, feeling a familiar wave of nerves. Then she thought about her father's words. Character is what you do when no one is watching. When she stepped onto the stage, the applause was deafening. Jessica took a deep breath and began. 5 years ago, I was wiping down tables at a small diner in Chicago, wondering if life would ever change. I didn't have a plan, but I did have something more valuable: integrity. And one ordinary day, that simple value transformed my life in ways I could never have imagined. Her speech recounted the story of the diner, her unexpected encounter with Ethan Blake, and the lessons she had learned along the way. But it wasn't just her story she shared. It was the story of countless others who worked tirelessly, waiting for their own moment of recognition. To anyone out there who feels unseen, she said, her voice steady, know that your hard work matters. Your integrity matters. Sometimes, the world takes notice when you least expect it. Until then, keep showing up, keep doing the right thing, and trust that your time will come. The audience rose to their feet as Jessica concluded, the applause echoing through the auditorium. That evening, Jessica returned to her hotel room and found a message from Ethan waiting in her inbox. Proud of you. This is only the beginning. EB, Jessica smiled, setting her phone down and gazing out at the city lights. She knew he was right. Her journey was far from over, but she was ready for whatever lay ahead. Jessica's rise from a diner waitress to an executive assistant and a symbol of integrity had not only transformed her life, but also inspired countless others. Her story reminded the world that small acts of kindness and courage could create ripples far beyond what anyone could imagine. She leaned back in her chair, her heart full of gratitude. For the first time in years, Jessica wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. And as she prepared for the next chapter of her life, she carried with her the unwavering belief that doing the right thing, even when no one is watching, is always worth it.